Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel on YouTube, where we've got the TNT takes for you on the Challenge All-Stars episode 6. That is right. I'm your host. I'm back. The challenge may have aces and places, but we've got Drew with the crew today. Drew, welcome back to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to talk about this week's episode with y'all.
Yeah, you look very comfortable there. You look like you're in your element. You're sort of settling in for the long haul on this podcast.
Yeah, I found this right before hitting record. Well, not right before because you guys didn't see this. I wanted you to.
No.
I wanted to see your surprise because I came in with just a t-shirt and my normal glasses, and yeah, I call this the polar bear. I got this like 6 Christmases ago. And the thing is, I think we talked about it on one of the first times that we were hanging out. But yeah, this is long as heck, man. And I just wanted to wear it.
Like, listen, how often do you get to wear that bad boy in Florida? I mean, like, I feel like
not even in winter.
2 days a year. Kahuna's in the house as well. Kahuna, big dog, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm also wearing a jumper, but it is deserved here at the moment. It is winter.
What's it like over there? 21 degrees?
Celsius? I don't know, but I mean, I wake up in the morning. I'm cold anyway, so I just I'm doing it. So yeah. I don't have the same padding I used to.
Well, listen, I'm sure we're going to warm you up today with all our hot takes when it comes to the Challenge All-Stars episode 6, because man, oh man, was there a lot of shadiness happening this episode. You know, people scheming, plotting, trying to get certain individuals out of the game. There's a lot of social maneuvering happening in the game. It may seem to some people like there wasn't a lot going on, but I know nothing would have gone by Drew's eyes. He may be wearing the shades, but his eyes was moving. His eyes were moving throughout this episode. We're going to be talking about all of this, right? So we start off this episode right at the beginning with Leroy coming back. They had a lot of fun with him. As well, Kuna. What did you think of Leroy's multiple takes to do the intro for this episode? They had him walking around with the boxing bag and everything. Did you enjoy it at the end? Because this is something new they've done this season, right? They're getting the place voicing it. It's like a voiceover at the end of or basically probably the end of the season. They get them to come back and do these voiceovers, I would imagine.
Yeah, I dig it. Like, I like that. Like, every show always has to have the previously on, and if you can make that thing unskippable and actually entertaining, then all the better, right? And I think the way they do the mistakes and the bloopers and all that, it's kind of just indicative of how this season specifically just seems a little bit more free, like a little bit more loosey-goosey, and they're just happy to roll with it, which makes it more endearing to us as people as well. Like, we find that much more entertaining when we know that it's not as slick and that they're real people and having fun with it, you know?
Yeah, I feel like TJ is the one missing out, because if he's getting paid by how many words he's saying in each episode, he's not getting the extra couple of words every episode there. So they're like, how can we make more with what we have? You know, basically, like, how do we budget this thing? Get the cast members themselves to do the previously on the challenge bit, so we can pay TJ a little bit less. Probably not the thing, but that's where my mind goes, Drew, when I don't have TJ doing it himself.
I think TJ is fine without doing the previous and recap if he can do like the bobsledding and the daily challenge. I mean, he would rather do that like multiple times rather than doing it being in a VO booth and doing
like, do I have to wear costumes? I don't want to wear costumes. I don't want to be a train conductor.
Fair enough. Let's hello to our 4th member of the podcast today, and that is the live stream. We've got Kiwi in the live stream as well, saying like and subscribe. Yes, please, everybody. If you enjoy the content, support the channel. It is absolutely free. We've got Chris in here. We've got Lovable Nikki saying hello to everybody. We've got Thana, Aya, Darren, so many people jumping in. Your Jay, we've got YouTube Bearcat. Who else am I missing here? Let's see. Steph Maria is also in the live as well. We've got Dreadful Ruby. Welcome to the live. And so many more here today, which we can't wait to hear everybody's thoughts of what let us know what you were thinking of this episode. What did you like? What you not like? And so forth. We've got Fairy Tiger saying, hello, everyone. Nice to see Angel Cake wearing the Q skirt. today?
I'm a polar bear.
Did you buy one?
All right.
Yeah. It's like, don't lump me in with Q. And by the way, I haven't seen Survivor yet, and I've stayed off social media. This week has been hectic on my end. So please don't spoil Survivor in the live today, because after this, I have to go and watch it. I am really nervous that I'm going to know what happened. And I'm very shocked that I don't know what happened yet, to be honest. But yeah, let's get into the challenge. We had a lot of Nicole and, Laurel content. I think we have to treat this like a Band-Aid, Drew, and just rip it off, get it out of the way early in the podcast so we can talk about some more fun stuff here. But Nicole giving us a little bit also of insight in regards to why she is kind of justifying in her mind still playing with Laurel in this season, and that is because she's in it for the money, and she feels like if they aren't talking, they're both not going to get to the end. What do you feel like about this whole scenario? We know we don't ship it, we don't like it. Is it justified because they're playing this game for money and Laurel is willing to do whatever at this point?
I just grit my teeth every time they're on screen, just because we have record of how this all ends up. I mean, if people are following all this or just on the Reddit or something, like when it was all like falling apart, spoiler alert, it falls apart in real life. You kind of just like grit your teeth because it's just, what's going to happen, like what's going to happen. It's not going well. I wish they would there has to be more going on in the house, or at least some conversations that they could like hone in on if they really wanted to. But as challenge fans, we know the history, and these are two players that are looked to be pretty solid going into this season. And so, they want to hone in on it, but I wish they would like hone in on like Adam and Avery, who maybe they're not showing too much signs, but you could show like they're most likely hanging out with each other. I mean, it was like last episode when Adam was getting a haircut from Leroy and Avery was just hanging around them. So, they're having conversations, they're talking with each other. I wish they would show a little bit more seedlings of those kind of relationships rather than honing in on just Laurel and Nicole and then the Cara and Cam stuff. I wish they would just like branch out a little bit more. You have so many people left on this season. Let's show a little bit more.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you can see all the time, like you said, Avery and Adam, they're kind of gravitating towards each other. They're always together on screen at different scenarios. You see them sitting together or things like that. So there must already be some conversations happening there. And at least that's one we know that has worked out long term. So it would be better to see a little bit more of that. I don't know if that says a lot about their game. Maybe both of them don't go very far and the editor doesn't want to focus on them. I don't know. It's an interesting choice what they're doing here with the Nicole and Laurel content, but I know everybody here in the live, like myself included, like Kahuna, we all are not here for it. But we are here for workout segments, and we love to see the workout segments. Angel Cake, none of us are as dedicated as you when it comes to actually, putting your body on the line for your viewers and actually, doing some of the workouts that the challenge has thrown at you in the past with your videos. Have you created the Bulgarian bag yet that Steve created in this episode? And will you be doing, we need to know, will there be content, Angel Cake, of you shirtless swinging the Bulgarian bag around for the viewers?
I mean, unless Rachel Robinson and the challenge will collab for one more season, and then Steve is put on there, I don't think I will be. I have not done the Bulgarian bag, unfortunately.
Kuna, what was your thoughts on that unorthodox method of training? It seems to be working for Steve so far, right? Because he's clearly the person to beat. Like, I reckon I chose Leroy as my number one guy for the season. I think Chantel was high on him from the start in our first draft, and clearly she's the one that's right. Myself and Angel Cake have been making fun of her being so high on that, and we have egg on our face right now because, he is by far the challenge beast this season. He's winning all the arenas.
I mean, I was stoked with Steve because I think I got him as my 5th pick, or like fairly down the pecking order. So to have him getting a bit of content, getting some elimination wins, I'm really happy with Steve. He does look like, he said in the first episode, like after getting trucked by
Tech.
Oh, gosh, Tech. He getting destroyed by Tech. He kind of wanted to trim down and come in fighting fair. He's made Bulgarian bags. I kind of had a little weird moment where I like the joke he said where he had he carries tape, duct tape, and zip ties and stuff. And I was like, in my head, I went like, this is a very small niche community that I really enjoy called EDC, which is Everyday Carry. And this, but he had to put the disclaimer out there, like, hey, it's not creepy. Which I was like, because I didn't go there at first. I was like, oh yeah, that's really creepy. But the fact that he carries duct tape and zip ties is part of like everyday carry kind of thing. It's a utilitarian people that carry, like, have a almost like a little pack or a go bag that makes them prepared for everything. And we got Steve in the wildlife, rummage, like foraging and doing all this stuff. It was cool. I like a bit of Steve content. It was fun.
Yeah, no, 100%. YouTube Bear Cat coming in with the smoke for my number one pick here, saying, who's Leroy? Oh, the guy who came in last all the time. So, are we forgetting that Leroy, if he has a bad season, which he's not having the greatest season, he did win against Brandon, I guess, in the arena, which now means he's got a star Drew. But, if he ends up falling flat this season and it hasn't been that impressive, like, do we suddenly start saying this? Like, do we forget that Leroy is the beast? Do we forget all of the previous seasons where he did really show up?
No, but it's shocking and disappointing. It's coming into the season, he has Cam, and you're thinking, well, this dude has played on at least season 36. He got to a final. He finished technically second, but officially third place. And you just think like, okay, well, Leroy's coming in. He should be able to do something. And then every single episode, except for one, I think, he's been in the losers group and possibly able to send in. Here's the thing. At least he's won something. At least he has a star. People are going to pile on to me because I had the third pick on the men's side, or the second pick on the men's side, I think. And I've had Brad, and he's been absolutely tragic on the season. I mean, what the heck is this man doing? I actually feel like somebody's paying him to throw challenges. He's doing so poorly. I mean, okay, can I just, we're going to get into it, but like on the daily challenge, he's just standing there, like looking back and forth. There's clearly a seat open in the middle of everybody sitting down already, yet the dude passes it like 3 different times. It's just sit down. Just sit down. What the heck?
There's some questionable cognitive behavior at the moment from Brad. Like, it's like his body is there.
Too much blood in other parts of his body.
True that. No, it's like his body is there, but like his mind's not there. He's not in the game. Like, he's running off in the wrong direction when everybody's running to get to the seats. Laurel's got to keep him in check. Like, seeing him and Laurel go out first was absolutely shocking to me. When I saw that team, I thought physically they're going to beast this one. They're going to be really good. But the guy is not on. And like, it even, I think, went over to when he came back to season 39 as a champion. You could still see it's like he's lost a couple of yards. And I don't know why. Like, it's happened so suddenly, because it wasn't that long ago that we thought with Jody, he was actually a contender. He was doing extremely well in that All-Star season. So I don't know what's happened to him. But the Fury Tiger Wolf here in the chat is saying, do you think all the top female challengers will start avoiding partnering with Brad in the dailies now, Kahuna? Do you feel like that is the direction that they'll go in based on the performances that we've seen so far?
I mean, they have to go off the evidence he's giving them, right? Like, it's so hard to go, oh, well, he was good a few years ago, when, this season I'm just seeing him fall on his face constantly. It's hard to look past that, but I don't know. Like, there's you got to pick somebody, and I guess at some point there may be something that Brad will excel at, but so far he's not showing it, it is completely shocking and weird because, I mean, he was our number 1 male pick, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. He was over Leroy.
Yeah.
No, he was.
No.
Was he 2?
No.
Oh,
he was.
Okay.
Brad was second. I was the second one to pick for the men, and I couldn't pick Leroy, so I picked Brad, which seems to be tragic.
Which I would have done
pre-season. That was absolutely the right choice.
I mean, technically, you did for the trio draft. You picked Brad when I picked Leroy. So
yeah.
There you go. So like he, I don't. There's no explaining it. Like, he's just. He's having a,
is Brad doing this? Like, I'm just gonna try and get into Brad's head here, the strategy side of it, Drew. I know you're a man like myself. You love the strategy. Is Brad doing this on purpose? Because he keeps getting taken out before the end every season he plays. He's normally a pretty big threat. He does well on the dailies in these All-Star seasons. Do you think he's trying a reverse Uno on them here, trying to downplay his threat level so he can sneak into a final just to surprise us in the end and actually do well. Because it feels like it's like you said, he's standing there. There's an open chair. He's purposely throwing it at this point, because how can you not just go and sit down? It seems too obvious that maybe he's playing dumb this season. Do you think there's potential for this?
Yeah, I just don't think I can give Brad that much credit, because the thing is like, I want to say he's strategic, but I just don't think that is. Brad is the kind of guy that's like, Brad goes, Brad plays, Brad wins. Like, that's all like on his checklist. That's how it is. That's how it's phrased. And that's all he does. He wants to go in. He wants to go in hard. And sometimes harder is not better. Sometimes it's just like, you got to put your mind into it. And this challenge isn't even that hard of a challenge to wrap your to focus
hard and Brad together.
It's ridiculous. And speaking of Brad and that, I mean, the other idea for coming onto this was just wearing a washcloth. So you should be thankful that I'm wearing this polar bear suit.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, definitely, it was Ryan and Derek who really appreciated it with Veronica when he walked out. So he's there for other reasons. He's the eye candy of this season. He's not there to win challenges, but he's still giving. This is the thing. This is what makes Brad an exceptional challenger and an exceptional contestant on the cast. Like, he's a man of many talents. If he's not going to perform in the dailies, if he's not going to dominate that way, he's going to give the people what they want, and that is walking around in a very small towel and showing off his body, so that at least people are getting that content. Kahuna alluded to some of the other content that people already got. Who knows, maybe the next move here for him is to start that OnlyFans account. Like, he's setting things up, he's putting the wheels in motion for the fans, knowing truly on the pulse of what the fans really want to see here this season. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the daily, because there wasn't much that happened prior to the daily, really. And we've started talking about it already. How did you feel about it, Drew? Did you quite enjoy this? We've had a couple of stadium dailies in the past as well. And I feel like the last one that we had was back in South Africa in the Challenge World Championship as well. So I don't know what it is with going to South Africa and doing these big stadium sort of dailies, but how did you feel about it? Did you feel like it hit the mark for you as a viewer?
I did. I like this one. I like the idea of the musical chairs. I kind of like musical chairs no matter what. But put in the stadium setup, I think it tests your stamina, your speed, as well as your eye to detail. Because if you're not sitting in the exact seats, I mean, we saw Adam was just sitting just outside thinking that the whole row was where it was at. But actually, you had to know that the seat just inside the first seat was there. So I think it was really, really strong. We got to see some other players like show off some really good abilities. Like, Derek was very impressive during this challenge. Who would have known? Like, back in the day, we didn't hear anything about him being a track star, a hurdler. It's like, where did that come from? And then he's coming in way after he's been on the main series, and he's out here just lapping everybody. Too bad he was paired up with Jasmine. I actually think Leroy hindered Cam from winning, because it looked like when they were pairing up that Cam was already standing next to Derek and they were just going to be partnered up with each other. And for some reason, Leroy's like, high off of winning one elimination, was like, babe, let's do this thing. We can't both be in the bottom together. We have to win. And then it's like, dude, just let her go. If I'm serious, if Cam and Derek are partnered up, I think they win this thing, or at least they could do something really special on this one.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really good. The second phase was interesting. I understand why they couldn't just do musical chairs the entire time, but altogether, I thought the daily was pretty good.
Yeah, I score it very high. I thought it was a lot of fun. My brain immediately went to, what stadium is this? Because obviously I'm from Cape Town. I'm trying to figure out. I couldn't figure it out. At first, I thought they were going to go to the big one close to the water, which is called Greenpoint, but it wasn't that. So immediately I'm like, is this a soccer stadium? Is this a rugby stadium? Like, what do they? So I was like trying to even figure that out. I couldn't figure out where the hell they did this, which was interesting. But the daily challenge itself, definitely, like you said, endurance, speed. Derek apparently was asked immediately after this daily to do the next season, right? So they immediately was so impressed by just his performance here that this is the thing that got the producers asking him while the season was filming, hey, would you be interested? We've got this idea for an eras season with the different eras. Would you be interested in something like this? So clearly very impressed there. And hopefully he does continue to do well, because he's someone that has had bad luck on the challenge. We know he's gone home early many seasons. This is maybe the deepest he's gotten so far in a season. I'm not too sure if he's already gotten past that, but it must be up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So overall, great daily. And then it's so funny how in sync Cara Maria and myself is, Kahuna, because, I've always loved Cara Maria. We all know she's my favorite challenger out there, and I'm admiring her this season. She's playing a great game. But then just like I passed on Ace and shaded Ace, she also did that here in this daily, just for Ace to have give us some egg on her face, because he does end up performing extremely well. Similar to me, where I was like, Ace is it's kind of like a sabotage to Kahuna, and then
I
he
saw
ends
it the
up
whole time. I believed in Ace.
You believed in him. Unlike me. So yeah, very interesting dynamic there to see. Ace obviously doing extremely well in this challenge, and again, I feel like this is the content you wanted from him, Kuna, because we were talking about it last week. We were like, Ace in places, but Ace is not on camera. Like, he's around the house somewhere, but finally he's starting to get some content. You must be excited by that.
I was. And you know what? I'm actually kind of liking him. He's got such a chilled out vibe. At the end, he put on his like pimpin' costume, which I really like. Yeah, I'm just enjoying that a dude that can sleep anywhere, much like my toddler, and you just find him like sleeping anywhere around the house. I'm like, this guy's like in a house where you've got Laurel and Nicole being disgusting. You've got the stress of $250,000. You've got people like Leroy and Brad being what we all assumed were quite good at physical beasts. And Ace is apparently got a sore knee, and he's winning challenges and just enjoying life. I'm liking him right now, and I do like that I'm actually getting a little bit more content, even if it is like him sleeping and not doing a lot as far as making waves in the house or anything. He's just kind of flying under the radar, and people are really appreciating him.
Yeah. And Cara Maria did enough here to stay out of at least the elimination round. And myself and Kahuna spoke about this a little bit last week, Drew, when you weren't on the podcast. We mentioned, it's like, is it actually the best thing this season to win dailies, or is the best thing if you could time to be in the middle group? Because you actually direct where the direction of the strategy is going to go in. I almost feel like if you've got a star, you almost just want to get into that middle group and you want to direct. Like, for instance, Cara Maria was actually the person with power here, getting second, where she could direct, people going in, maybe defend her own star. We'll talk about all of that strategy. But what's your overall feel based now that we've seen a couple of episodes? This is episode 6. Do you agree that middle group is actually, it's hard to, like, how do you play for the middle group, right? Instead of going out to win, because if you play for the middle group, you could also end in the bottom. So it's a tricky situation to try and navigate, but that's kind of my gut feel, is that that's the pocket you want to be in.
Yeah, it benefited Cara this week. I mean, if you can get into the middle group when there's like 6 or 5 total votes, I mean, you're going to have a lot of sway. It was the early group of being in the middle group with like 10 people in it that was like, okay, it's trying to herd cats here. If I don't have everybody on my side, then it's going to be all over the place. But Cara was able to use that to her benefit, and it's actually a benefit that she didn't win. Even though her star was going to be safe, she was able to keep her star safe here. But here she was able to actually direct the votes, and it wasn't completely out of her hands. So I think that this week in particular, it was really beneficial for her. It doesn't sound like she has a lot of fans in the house after the deliberation and how she was like telling people what to do. It was never going to be easy because Cara knows how to play this game, and some people don't stand as steadfast or has as strong of opinions. Like, Flora is coming from an old school vibe of like, if I say something and I want to do it, I'm going to do it. I don't care if you're pushing me. I don't care if you're going to threaten me. I don't care. I'm just going to do it. So for Avery, who you could see was just on the fence, she wants to be there for Cam and Leroy, but realistically, she knows she's not their top one each, because that's themselves and everybody else. So I could see where that's rubbing her the wrong way, but it was just a really good move for Cara to make sure that she got one person that isn't on her side out, as well as keeping her stars safe. It's going to be more difficult, I think, moving forward in the game.
Right. Yeah. And thank you, Dolores, for looking into that. So she says it's Athlon Stadium in Cape Town, and I just had a quick look. So Athlon Stadium definitely is the stadium that was used there. I've never actually been to it before. must be like one of the smaller football stadiums in Cape Town that I've never been to. But thank you for looking that up. Totally agree with all of what you said there, Drew. And I think, like Fury Tiger here says, Cara's upping her game this season big time in the deliberations, because I spoke about this a little bit with Kahuna last week, and I said, it all feels right in the world when Cara Maria is actually she's being pushed into a corner. She's back in the underdog position. She's having to fight, with her back against the wall. That is kind of the Cara Maria that people have loved over the seasons. We always saw her in that position. So it's maybe not a position she's been familiar with in her recent seasons on the main show, because she got into a place where she was always pretty safe in directing the votes and things like that. But this season, even though she got her way here, like you said, there's so many people that have got like their eyes on her and that are targeting her. Ryan has said in the beginning of the episode, she's someone that is dangerous. We need to get rid of her in the game. We know Cam's no friend of hers at this point. Leroy's not obviously going to be too happy with her. Flora was talking to Nicole, and Nicole suddenly has got her crosshairs set on Cara Maria as well. But yeah, again, like I said, at this stage, if you want to beat if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. So people will have to go past Cara Maria in this game, and I don't think it's going to be easy, Kahuna. And I think this season is showing us why, when you lose old school players like your Cams, like your Cara Marias, the players that sort of have been there for quite a few seasons, that have sort of carried, at one point, both of them were seen as the face of the challenge, or the new faces of the challenge. You lose so much, I guess, traction and momentum when it comes to great storytelling. Like having Cam and Cara Maria in opposing forces this season is the best thing that could have happened for All Stars. Coming into the season, I didn't think it was going to be a thing. I thought they were going to work together. But the season is interesting because we're like, both of them are strategically sound. Both of them are like challenge beasts. They're going head to head. Cara Maria has now won. Like round one, it was Cam taking a shot at her without her knowing it was coming. So she had that. Then she got one back with getting Leroy in there. Now she's blocked Cam. So it's like 2-1 for Cara Maria at the moment. Who's going to get the next one in here? And I'm here for it, Kuna. I think it's making for a very interesting season.
It really is, because like I'm sure the producers are just salivating at the fact that Cam and Cara decided to turn on each other so they can get that content, because I think, like, the way I'm looking at it, if I'm a cynical TV producer kind of mind, which is what I do a lot of the times, I feel like the single winner sort of concept, although I definitely believe was a money-saving grab, I think by doing so actually set Cara up to be that underdog again, which is weird to say, because she's only an underdog because she's so not an underdog. Everyone expects her to win to the point that they're going against her. And by putting her in that corner, we get that content where Cara is fighting her way out of a corner, which, like you said, makes it so much more entertaining. And I think it was meant to be, maybe the rivalry was going to be Laurel. Laurel obviously being one of the other stronger female competitors there, but with Laurel being distracted, annoyingly, by peanut butter. That's a shout out to the bakery, by the way. By being distracted by Nicole, they're like, what are we going to do now? Laurel's like gone. She's hopeless at TV. We're going to have to use that crappy content. And Cam steps up to the plate, says, I'll give it to you guys. And Cam becomes like, the one to go against Cara and drive it all. They were like, thank God, yes. Like, we don't have to put, like, Laurel's not doing it. She's not carrying the water this season to go against Cara. And I think, like, Cara recognizes that she's an incredible player. And the fact that everyone else on the season does too is such a weird thing, because the most powerful player, the best player on the best challenger, becomes the underdog, and a great story just by the fact that she's so good at the game. She has to be targeted. It's kind of genius in the way it's kind of all worked out.
Yeah. Let's read a couple of the comments here coming in. Chris saying, oh, yeah, trying to piss me off. Lol, talking about how Cara performed well enough to get in the middle group, but not mention of her partner in the daily. Who was her partner again? Must have been somebody very forgettable. No, listen, Jay, obviously, I was going to talk about Jay actually next. It's funny, as soon as we bring a comment up, there's so many good comments and we can like dive into it. And I wanted to read a few more, but since Chris is going that direction, what do you guys think about Jay's move to stand with Cara Maria here? Because obviously, Drew, he had to make a decision, right? He was kind of trying to protect Jasmine, trying to protect Nicole in the game. Nicole's not there for Cara Maria either. So there's two decisions that's going to have to be made here in the coming weeks. The first one was between Jasmine and the likes of a Cara Maria, and Cara Maria beat out Jasmine in that decision. But now also Nicole, we know, isn't really aligned with Cara Maria either. So maybe there's another tough decision for Jay that is coming in the coming weeks here. But how do you feel about him sort of backing her in this moment? Because she really needed his vote here. Like if he didn't swing, then she wouldn't have been able to use the negotiation skills she had with Avery to say, I'll give you a star if I was to go back down again.
I really like Jay, and I'm impressed with how he's playing the game because I think he's playing a rather, I don't know, he's playing a very smart, strategic game, but he's also not doing the whole thing where it's like when I think of somebody who plays the fence, I think of like Derek. Derek, he has few handful of people that he he's going to ride for, but at that same time, he's going to go with like trying to be everybody's friend and everything. Jay, I feel, has been strategic in like the nominations where he'll say, oh, I can't say Brandon's name. Oh, I can't say Jasmine's name. Like he's made it clear, like I can't say Cara's name. I will say this person's name. Like he has people that he's willing to take a stand for and not just say, everybody's piling up. Kind of like what Tina did with the Rachel vote. I'll just say Rachel's name. Who cares? The votes were already there. Like Jay still has that where it's like multiple times in the voting, he's like, I can't say Brandon. And then he's telling Cara, of all people, saying like, I don't want to say Jasmine's name. And I thought that was very interesting of a way to play the game, but also be brutally honest while also just like kind of showing people where the cards are. And it's like he's coming off very trustworthy. He's playing very well physically in the games. And I thought that his reasoning was very sound when he's like talking in the confessionals, being like, I'm gonna back Cara. She needs somebody in her back pocket. I could be that guy. I could be your number one. I could be Nicole's number one. Now I'm two people's number one while they're my one and two. You can give or take whoever's in the better position at that point. But he's like kind of playing that way of being like, I made a stand. I'm connecting here. And then he was very sound in his logic. It wasn't emotional. You could tell he thought it through. Like Jasmine has a lot of people. I'm probably on the bottom, so she can't help me anyway. So I'm just gonna go for it, So I'm actually very surprised with how Jay, prior to coming into this, I didn't know how he was gonna play. I felt like he was either gonna get thrown in early or he was gonna be completely invisible. But I've been actually very impressive. He's actually been very impressive through the first 6 episodes where I'm like, dude's playing a really sound logic game that I feel like he's making connections while also making the right game moves to help him further into this game.
Right. So Kahuna, Drew's clearly in the pocket of Chris, right? And she's given him some money on the down low for all the compliments he's just put on Jay. But, is Jay good TV, though, Kahuna, this season? You reckon he's like someone that's been entertaining to watch this season?
I haven't not liked him. You know what I mean? He hasn't done anything to
he's like, I love how he's like, are you afraid of Chris Kuna? Like, be honest.
No, I'm impressed by Jay as well this season. I think if you're his previous showing on the challenge and his only one was not particularly great. And for you to come in and go and Cara Maria say, you're my muscle, to be seen in that light by someone like Cara Maria over the likes of anyone else on the show, when you've got a Brad, when you've got a Leroy out there and Jay's getting chosen specifically, that means he's in a pretty good position, right? Like he has to be in a good position to be able to be seen that way. And I don't think he's offensive enough to the other players to be targeted either. So he's in a good spot, and I think he's played it well to get there by siding with Cara Maria, but not siding with her to the point of like being tied with her in the minds of everyone else. So he's like strategically being on the side of the strongest player in the game, who not only is obviously very physically capable, who can come back from eliminations, but now we're seeing Cara Maria flex herself in the deliberations and stuff and strategy as well. And Jay's associated with her, but without being married to her as far as the rest of the competition goes. Because I don't think he's gotten the stink of target him because he's Cara's number one. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't had that put on him yet. So he's in a good spot.
Yeah. And obviously I'm just having fun with Chris. I like Jay as well. Like Jay is someone that I was very high on. I picked him high both times that we did the draft. I'm like, this guy's going to come back. I'm telling you now, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder and want to prove people wrong. And I think that so far I've been proven right. Like he has, like some people have said in the life, he has started to reinvent himself. Or, I don't know how much you can reinvent yourself if you've only been on the show once and people have judged you based on that one performance that you've had on the challenge. Everyone can have a bad season. And clearly, his bad season was him going to the final unable to drink the drink. You know what I mean? Like if you're being super critical about it, which I know it's a big part of the challenge to do it, but I've always said I wouldn't be great at the nasty food eating shit as well. Doesn't mean I'm going to be horrible at doing all the other challenges. It's just I've got a weak stomach, okay? And I wanted to bring up here, Lovable Nikki, she always has the receipts. Chris, Cam is not old school. How dare you? I know. Listen, live podcasting, Lovable Nikki, is hard. And I said it, and while I was saying it, I was trying to correct myself by saying we had the new school face of the show, or the newer face of the show, and then the older face of the show. But Nikki didn't let it slide. She was like, I'm going to call you out on your shit, Chris. And she is not old school, and I agree. But Drew, what did you think of Kefla taking a shot at the older version of the challenge this episode? Did you catch that line where you said, I played the beta version of the challenge and I'm now on this version of the challenge? How do you feel like did fans catch that? Because Kefla is such an icon in the old school generation. And I know fans are very, they're loyal when it comes to where it all started.
I mean, he isn't wrong. I mean, when he played, they were in Winnebagos. Nobody was eliminated. There was no eliminations, no vote outs, and you got to play the entire season. And luckily, he wasn't on the season where you got money that you had to invest in. E-Trade, I think it was, back in Challenge 2000. That was the next season. They were given money for each time, and they had to put it in stocks. And it was the worst thing. They barely went up. They barely scored any more money. But to me, Kefla was wanting. I really feel bad for him because he really wanted to compete. I really wish he didn't have that hamstring come up on him in the daily challenge, because I feel like he would have went way harder in the daily challenge, and even in the daily challenge and the elimination. And I know he wanted to give more. He had more to give. It's just sad that it was his time to go, but I loved him on this season.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of Kefla. I think he's good TV. I would not mind seeing him back on our screens again. Plus, when I realized that he was going to go up against Steve, I thought he clearly is the more physical of the two. I mean, Tech bounced Steve. Like, that's forever ingrained in my brain. Like, Tech's not, like, he's scrappy, but he's not the most physically gifted, brute force kind of person out there. So I don't know if he's ever going to live that down. So clearly Kefla must have had some issues going in. And then we find out here that Steve, though, was a wrestler, Kahuna, which meant that this maybe was a little bit, his stand-up game wasn't that good because Tech bounced him in the stand-up game. But when it went to ground and pound, that's where Steve does his best work, right, Kahuna?
I mean, wrestlers are an interesting species, man. This is what they do. They're like, I'm just going to roll around with men and keep you on the floor as long as possible. And even as big, as strong as Kefla is, like that skill and that knowledge and experience really outshone Kefla. I love Kefla as well. The dude played basketball with Kobe Bryant. Like that's always going to be a huge deal. I think, like, people, I don't know if we're going to talk about it. I think we probably will, but people are going on about producer shenanigans again and
really
letting things happen in the challenge. But I think one of the worst things that produce, in my mind, because I am such a convert for this King Kefla, the worst thing producers have done is keeping this man off the challenge for 20 years. Like, I don't know what he did, but this guy's awesome. And they only get him back when he's in his 50s. And like, it's not the same. Like, if we had Kefla through the prime of the challenge, like what would he have done against when he was younger against the CTs and the early banana seasons and things like he's great. And I love this dude on TV. He's positive. He showed a really, really great relationship with his wife, who's wonderful on screen as well. Like, even for that small moment, like, this dude's awesome. I know Lovable Nikki is a big fan. I'm with you. Like, I'm a convert to this guy. I do not remember him at all from the first season, but if this is what we're getting this season, when this man is in his 50s. Like, I'm saying bring him back, but he's old. I don't know how long we can keep bringing him back for, especially he's pulling hammies and stuff. And it's not his fault. Like, age is undefeated. I'm just sad that we didn't get him a lot more through the course of this show's development. You know, we got him on the beta season, then we get him when he's definitely, unfortunately, past his prime.
Apparently, according to a written interview, I don't know where it was, but it was put up in the Discord by Lovable Nikki. But apparently, he was called for 2 other seasons. One was Battle of the Sexes or Battle of the Sexes 2. I think it was the second one, and they were thinking about trying to get because I think Ronnie was on that season, and him and Ronnie had like this like will they won't they kind of vibe. Like they were a Parade. It was Parade magazine, but he had an interview where he talked about how he just got with his soon-to-be wife at that point, and he was supposed to go on to Battle of the Sexes 2. They called him up. He couldn't go. And they were going to try to do this thing where it's like, hey, we're going to try to rekindle you with Ronnie and see if we can have that as like your storyline. But he was like, it's been wild. I mean, season 2 to season 9, there was a lot of time in between that. So he couldn't do that one. And then they tried to get him for another season after that one. And apparently his wife was on, and so he couldn't leave her to go party it up with a whole bunch of college age students and stuff at that point. And so by that time, there's so many real worlders, road rulers, fresh meat are being introduced, and then storylines and everything. And so apparently he kept on getting calls. They just never came in with the final call to be like, hey, can you come in? We want you on this season. It's always like, hey, are you available? And then just never officially got him until now, which is a huge tragedy.
That almost feels like worse. Like every time you hear a call and you're like, oh, wow, I might get back on the show. And then you get let down last minute by not going on the show. I feel like it would almost be worse than not getting the call, you know, completely not even thinking you're, on the radar. But I have to come back to you, Kuna. You can't leave us hanging with things like, you know, I know you're someone who loves a good tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. What is the current goss out there when it comes to production interference and things like that you sort of alluded to
not
earlier?
necessarily interference. I know that people weren't happy with allowing Peanut Butter to change her mind on who goes into the elimination.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I honestly don't care. Honestly, don't care. Like it's like, listen, it's her choice. It's her choice. Like she can do it. Like unless they physically started the round and she's like, hold up. I feel like this one's Veronica's maybe going to be a little bit more of a challenge than what I thought, and I'm going in the round there. Let's pause this and get Jasmine down. That to me is different. Like they haven't actually physically started the arena, so I don't think like why are we suddenly so precious about this rule when the challenge changes their rule all the time? The rules have changed from season to season, but we're going to care about the fact that Jasmine got to walk up and then she changed the mind. I honestly don't care about that, Drew. How do you feel about it?
So
are you on the opposite side here?
Well, first of all, I'm actually surprised. I'm with you. It's just it didn't matter. Nicole was going to win against either person realistically, but the idea of like I was surprised that TJ was just like, yeah, whatever, who cares, kind of vibe. Maybe it's because Nicole won, and they're like, whoever wins gets carte blanche. Whatever, whoever's down there, they get to pick whoever they really want to. I was actually surprised that she decided to swap with Jasmine from the get-go. Like that was like shocking to me that she was like, I thought she made a mistake and she misspoke. And then she's like, no, I actually want to go up against Jasmine. I want to replace. So I thought that's what the problem was. But I just, right before coming in here, I was listening to Jemmy's podcast recap because I've been doing it for Tiny Table Talk. We've been doing podcast notes over on Tiny Table Talk live streams. So people who don't have like 3 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours to listen to random podcasts throughout the week.
You just get them all together.
You get them all. You get the highlighted notes and everything. Nice. We go through them all. And so I listened to the Jemmy's podcast, which was 23 minutes. She was in and out this week. She did not care about this episode. She was just in and out. And there was one point where she was trying to spin this web of like, oh, the production is like in favor of Veronica. Veronica has production by the fingertip, and she gets so much favor. And if there was other two people down there, Nicole probably can't switch out. But because Veronica was involved, oh, they're gonna bend the rules for Veronica, and I'm just like, what the hell are we talking about? Are you serious? Who cares? It's just
Veronica.
like, all right, so who is Nicole gonna beat? I guess she can take out Jasmine. Who cares at this point? I mean, they're both
Jasmine was
starholders,
the
they're
right
both gonna lose.
decision. Jasmine was the right decision
Yeah.
for multiple reasons. Like, I feel like because she's the tinier one of the two, she's going to be easier to move just because you have to physically move this person with the rope. It made sense. And Nicole's not the biggest person herself. So it's like try and equal the playing fields. I know she's muscular, but yeah, again, what is the road of least resistance? And it's going up against Jasmine for sure. And then on top of that, Jasmine seemed to be socially in a very good position this game. Like she had so many people trying to protect her, and she was working with so many different people in the game that I don't feel like Veronica has got the same connections this season. Like she was always going to be the person that maybe there's something that could be done. Like if Nicole had to find a number. So Veronica said it was her best work ever on the challenge. Do you think this is going to go down in history as one of those, or maybe one of her greatest moves to be able to convince Nicole there last minute to go up against Jasmine instead?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
No.
You had the biggest reaction. Kahuna gave me nothing, by the way. You gave me the biggest reaction, so I'm looking at you, Drew, to deliver on this.
This is not a big move to like bamboozle Nicole and make her overthink something. I mean, talk about peanut butter. I mean, she's got a peanut up there, and it's like, I don't know what are you talking about? Oh, all she said was, I'm not working with Cara. I'm not working with Cara. I want her out of the house. And Nicole goes, okay, I want to swap. What master manipulation was there? The best thing that she's ever done in master manipulation is the ruins, where the writing was on the wall in the original episode, where she's in the room. Everybody agrees that Veronica's going to go in, and she somehow ties the vote. Everybody comes in, and she's the deciding vote of not going in. To me, that was huge. That was that was excellently played. But this one was just. I don't know. That's ridiculous. It's not master manipulation. She just said a couple of phrases of I don't want to play with Cara over and over and over again. And Nicole was like, I think in the middle of it, it was less of what Veronica said and the realization like I just made a mistake. I want to go up against the really tiny Jasmine and get this easy start. And that was it. I don't even know if anything that Veronica said really seeped into what Nicole was even thinking.
Yeah. And again, I might have to come back to you here, Drew, because my memory, I can't remember what the Olivia situation was last season, season 39. People say that she couldn't switch. Like, is it comparable to what we saw this season? Like, was it prior to the actual arena starting? Yeah, I can't remember this.
It was the schoolyard pick where it was Michelle picking Olivia so early on, and then Olivia picked Mariah.
Right.
And then at the very end, it was like, I just saved you last episode. And she's like, can I swap my vote and everything? And TJ was like, no. The thing was about that is that there was a whole process of once you picked, other people were picking. I think this is different in that somebody won, somebody got to, and there's only two people involved. There's only one opinion involved. So I mean, I can see how some people are upset about that. Yeah.
But that definitely is one of those things where I feel like as challenge fans, we are used to the fact that the rules change season to season. The game, the format of the show changes season to season. So I'm okay within the season this being the rule set for this season. Like some seasons you've got skulls, some you don't, some you've got stars, some you don't, some you're playing in duos, you know what I mean? Like sometimes the top two people will put someone in and then the house decides who else is going to go in. Sometimes it's like this season where the middle group has got all the power. So I think as challenge fans, we have to appreciate the fact that each season is different and it's very hard to compare them to each other. But I can understand why people, you know, especially people who are very big Olivia fans, like or even just for fairness and transparency. But I feel like we would love for there to be like an equal playing field from season to season. I just don't think we'll ever get there personally, Drew.
The thing is, I will say is that it also could be just the difference of the production team as well as the vibe. I know going into season 39, they were like, this is a sport. We got to be serious. We want this to be the most serious season we've ever had. Like, this is important. And then this season, they're like, we're just having fun. Let's take it back to when we were having fun back in the day. It's like, okay, well, then I can see why they're going to swap it up. I do want to ask both of you a question is, what do you think about this elimination in general? This elimination game, Rope Rumble. I have some strong opinions, but I desperately want to hear.
And I haven't heard your takes at all this week. Go ahead, quickly.
We also have to remember that 39 was filmed after All Stars, so there's a small possibility that they did this and then went, "Hey, we probably shouldn't let them change their mind again." Olivia, no way. Like, there's also that element in there as well, like where it was done after.
I think Lovable Nikki's one is the closest to the truth, probably. She says here there was no way they would redo the vote with Olivia. Be for real, it's the same. It's not the same. Olivia asked after people picked her after herself. So to me, if people picked after Olivia, it's as good as Nicole and Veronica going into the arena already, starting the challenge, and then they're wanting to change their mind. That means the game progressed. Right. So I don't have a problem with the change happening before you go to the next phase. But if the next phase has already been initiated, that means the game has progressed. So I think that's probably the difference if we had to get our heads around it. But I didn't listen, Drew, to any of the takes this week because, like I said to you prior to going live, this has just been such a mentally crazy week for me at work, and I've had zero time, even less than usual. But that's good because I don't know your take. I actually don't know what you think about this daily. And for me, I kind of felt the daily was a bit boring. I've been down on a lot of the dailies personally this season and All Stars. I feel like I understand why the dailies aren't as big or grand scheme as some other dailies that we've seen arena isn't. It's not as the eliminations isn't at that same level as normal seasons because I feel like they're trying to equal the playing field between the older cast and the younger cast, and because of that, they're trying to find like a happy middle ground where we got to see a head-to-head physical challenge, but it was this big rope that they had to move just over the line. I felt like surely there's something more grand that we could do, like pull the rope like they had Jordan do against Josh ages ago on a barrel or something like that. I just didn't think like visually it was as big of a spectacle. Like, for instance, when Steve was gassing Kefla out, because I think even Kefla with his hammy, if his hammy was perfect, would have still lost because what Steve was doing was he was putting him in a lock and he was tiring Kefla out trying to get out of the lock. So Kefla looked gassed by the end of it. It looked like his cardio wasn't up to speed. But it wasn't like, was that visually like, is wrestling the most fun part of the UFC? No, it's the stand-up game. It's not it's not the ground game, right? So I just felt personally for me, it fell flat a little bit from an entertainment standpoint. I didn't enjoy it as much personally. And not to be down on it, I have been down on some of the eliminations this season. I think the best one they had was the one with the big cylinder and the ball in the middle where they're trying to push each other out. That was probably the one I enjoyed the most. But I like the head-to-head bangers or the ones that it feels like there's more going on. I don't like seeing people just lying on the ground wrestling and there's like not much movement happening. I don't know if I'm making sense, but that's kind of where I'm sitting. And I'll go over to Kahuna next because I know you've got your takes as well. Kahuna, where do you sit on this before we get rounded up with Drew and his thoughts?
I did appreciate that it was a physical elimination as well. I just don't think it played out the way they were expecting it. I thought, like in my head, I was like, oh, I think they want this to be like almost like people are saying that it should have been not so fast, or it was meant to be not so fast, and maybe the freaking jungle gym broke. They couldn't, or something like that, because it looks like the exact rope that they used from it, right? They just recycled the rope from not so fast. But I think they were expecting it to almost turn into, in my head anyway, maybe I'm completely off, but I thought they would have turned into a bit of a tug of war, like where you're trying to get as much rope on your side as possible and then have pull at each other rather than just wrestle on a bundle. You know what I mean? Which I think it was meant to look a little bit more dynamic with more movement rather than just
that's the word I was looking for, dynamic.
Yeah, and I think that's what it was, but they obviously saw the shortcut there was just to try to push it quickly over the line rather than pulling as much rope as you can on your side. It's just or like, you know what I mean? Like, is it over your side or the other side? Whichever way it was.
You're pushing the whole rope over. And I think like physically, I think like I'm not disputing the fact that it was challenging or that it was probably physically very difficult to do. I'm just thinking, like, was this a spectacle to watch? Like, was it entertaining? Like, it's like when you watch the UFC and they go to the ground, there's so much skill involved in wrestling on the ground. But for me, who's not a student of wrestling or a student of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's like the most boring part of it, right? So I like to see the more
pole wrestle's
bombastic
cool.
things.
I love pole wrestle. Like
pole
in the World
cool.
Championships, we got the Kiki leg split to separate the pole wrestle or whatever it was. So there's and the Troy on Australia, the Derek and Joss. Like there's been some great wrestling things in the challenge,
but we're not seeing that with the older cast. Like it's just not
they just lay there.
Do you remember how Troy looked at the end of that? Like it looked like he ran, like he was in war, basically.
Yeah.
And you're not going to see the older cast go through that at all. But yeah, Drew, now that you've heard our thoughts and where we're sitting, how do you feel about it? Like, were you high on it? Like, you said you had some strong takes.
No, it sucked. I hated it.
Yeah,
I think that this is one of the. I feel like this was one of the least thought out. I almost think I agree with Darren and everybody in the. I feel like it was supposed to be a not so fast, and then either the jungle gyms got lost in the mail, the person who was putting them together on site didn't like connect it in time, and they were just like, "All right, well, what do we got? We got this giant rope. All right, well, they could push it. Hopefully, that'll be fun." And it just stunk. I mean, it was really bad. The only thing with the tug of war is that you would have to get on your opponent's side and then start pulling it. Maybe they had an idea maybe during the initial testing of this elimination. If they had initial testings, maybe the testers figured out a fun way to do it, and they were like, this could work out. But then it's like, get the rope to the other side, and everybody just did the same thing of like, go, please just go. And it's like, it's on the middle anyways, and just push it. All you have to do is push it an inch over the other side, and I couldn't expect this elimination to go more than like a minute. On either end. It just stunk. I just was like, what are we doing here? What do we like? I just don't understand. To me, this is probably one of the worst, one of the most ill-prepared, one of the most least thought out eliminations I have seen in quite some time.
Yeah, and like Lovable Nikki said, what happened to the dumbass elimination that Tina was supposed to do? Do they just now not bring that in? Like, because that's another option. If they were running out of ideas, they could have done that, for example.
Yes, please. Or bring out the car batteries from Rivals. Who cares? Like Rivals 2. Let's do it. Like all the eliminations that we have not been able to complete in every challenge, like any of them would have done better than this one. I
would have even gone for that one about, the one that Anissa did way back. I forgot who she was up against, where you have to lift a certain amount of weight and one person has to say, I think I can lift this. And I think I can lift. Yeah, even that. Like, didn't give, like, I mean, again, it's not the most skillful elimination that you would have out there, but I even think that would have been more entertaining than watching them trying to push this rope, Lovable Lucky saying not the car batteries. Asia, welcome to the live. I saw you pop in a little bit earlier on. Says yes, kind of like that elimination. Jordan and Joss when stood up on the platforms and pulled. That's what I was saying. I was talking about that. I think that would have been more entertaining to watch, to be honest. BBG95 says it wasn't a great elimination, but I still rate it higher than the Hall Brawl in USA 2. People weren't big fans of the Hall Brawl in USA 2, but I don't know. Again, I wasn't a fan of this, and I haven't been a fan, like I said, of many of the eliminations this season. I feel like it's fallen flat for me a little bit, and it's the fact that they're trying to there's like this equalizer that they're trying to deal with to make sure that the older cast can compete with the younger cast. Otherwise, it will just be a blowout here throughout the season. So obviously, we do get Kefla losing to Steve. Steve makes a big move here, and he could have given the star to Adam in this moment, Drew, but he ends up giving it to Ace. Do you think it was a good move here from him in this point? Do you think Adam is the kind of person that will let it slide? Do you think he made the right choice, I think, in hindsight?
I think so. I think Steve coming out of the elimination against Kefla, another star holder, he's like, I don't want to see this again. I don't want to be down here with Adam playing out. Maybe I think it was good to put it in a neutral territory of Ace. It seems like Ace doesn't have any enemies. Maybe he doesn't have the most friends, but I think everybody just sees him as a cool guy that hangs around the house and sleeps everywhere. I do think that maybe there is some strategy to it, to where it's like, I personally, if I have to go up against either one of them, I would rather go up against Ace in an elimination rather than Adam. And so I think that also plays a factor in it as well. Also another thing is if Adam goes down, wins against some random person, gets to steal a star, and he takes it from Ace is not going to be upset. Ace is going to be like, oh, dang, well, I didn't win it anyways. Like, it's going to be one of those things where it's like, if I beat him, it sucks that Ace is gone, but he's not going to be, I don't think he's going to be that hard to beat, or I feel like I have a better option against him than 6 other guys in the house. And then if I steal the star, Ace isn't going to go on this like this rage storm to try to get me out. He's just going to be like, well, that's cool. Well, I hope we can play pool later. Like, that's the way it's going to go, kind of vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, Ace is he's doing way better than what I thought this season. In any case, he's hanging in there. He's got Cara Maria clearly vibing with him. Who would have seen that coming? That they're working closely together. She actually gave a lot of credit, I think, to both Ace and Jay, and some of the interviews she did earlier in the season when they were saying, "Oh, who are the people to watch out for?" And she was like, "Watch out for Ace and watch out for Jay. Like, they're both going to do really well." So clearly, that means she's going to be working with both of them throughout the season, and we're kind of seeing that at the moment as well. So interested to see how it's going to turn out for Ace in the long run here. But Steve did make that decision. I think it was a solid decision, like you guys said. I don't think Adam's going to hold it against them either. I feel like he's pretty smart strategically. He's not going to rock the boat. He actually needs Steve in the game as well. He still needs some of those numbers. He seems to be playing a very solid game at this stage as well. Him and Ace give me similar kind of vibes and how calm they are within the game, like very smooth operators. And then we've got the other elimination taking place here, Nicole and Jasmine. And I can't remember who said it. Like someone on the sideline said no one would have been able to beat Nicole at this elimination. Kahuna, can you name people in this season that would have been able to beat Nicole possibly at this elimination? Do you think that it's true that no one would have been able to beat her at this?
Cara, Laurel, Cam, Rachel. I don't know. Like that's at least
that's 4 at least. But Rachel's not in the game anymore. But you gave us 3 contestants at least.
Yeah.
Avery, maybe. Do you reckon Avery would have been able to scrap with her out there?
I don't know. I do think that there's some validity. Like Nicole's not big, but there's validity to the fact that she said on the show that this is like hose. Like it's just ropes for me. I'm pulling fire hose like every day. That's what she does. So I think that would have counted a lot for her. But again, it didn't end up being a tug of war type thing. It was pushing. So even someone like a Tina with bulk and weight, and even Veronica might have had a better shot against someone like Nicole when it's just lay on the floor and push. Like that's a lot. It's harder to push. Like this is where I would have beat Corey. Is I would have just laid on the rope, and he couldn't do anything with it. You know what I mean? Like in a game like that where it's physical size does matter. Although I say that knowing that Kefla lost, but Steve's not a small dude. Andy has the skill with him as well. She's certainly beatable. I don't know why they would say that, but Corey. So
true. Cam, last time Nicole and Cam went head to head, she popped Nicole's shoulder.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure Nicole would have wanted to go against her.
Cam would have manhandled her. I think just picked her up and with the rope.
Yeah. Flora's loyalty to Nicole is confusing to me this season. I did not see that coming at all. Like, but she's very, I don't know if she was the one who said it, but someone said it on the sidelines. I can't remember who it was. And I was like, no, like there's definitely people this season that would be able to beat Nicole at this elimination. But Nicole does end up getting a star. She's in the, she's right there now in the mix of it. It's going to be interesting to see if she can keep that star throughout the season. And you know, TJ warns everybody, Drew, that the final is getting very close now. So if you get to the final, you don't have a star, you're out of this game. Like, do you think that we'll actually see people eliminated this season for not getting a star, or do you reckon it will be like other seasons where they'll get their opportunity? We'll keep going until there's only 2 people left without stars, and they'll both go into the elimination to go get one.
Yeah, I think we're going to keep on seeing more and more people get the opportunity to get a star. If anything, we'll just keep on doubling up the elimination counts. Maybe there'll be a purge somewhere. I love when it's like the final is right around the corner. we're halfway done. And it's like, okay, we're halfway done. We still have half a game to go. It's not around the corner, everybody. It's the final stretch or anything like that. But yeah, I think we're gonna see a lot of people. Only 6 people can make it to the final. There's 16 left, so that's still a lot of people. That's 10 people they got to get out. But if they start doubling up eliminations, maybe do a purge and 2 people go, I think we'll see people have enough. I think the only time that they didn't have where people were purged was the island, and they still gave everybody a chance on that final face-off to have 5 people try to hold their breath the longest to see if they could get have a chance of stealing a key. So even then, they still gave everybody an opportunity to possibly steal a key at the very end. So I still think that we're still going to have everybody have at least some opportunity to send themselves in or anything like that.
Yeah. Now we do have you on the podcast today. Did you? We didn't get time to talk about this beforehand. I'm assuming you've done some draft points for us, so we can update on the draft. Yep.
Yes,
awesome.
we
Don't want to
did.
put you on the spot.
No,
Awesome.
I definitely did it.
Well, what I'll do is we'll start off with the draft that Kahuna takes place in as well. We'll go through that in more detail, and then we'll do a quick roundup on the other one as well for those who followed the first draft, if you have both of them.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about the main draft. I believe that is where we were sitting heading into this episode. Obviously, a couple more people here out of the game now. Kefla from Chantel's team. We'll put her at 2 people left in the game with the, I should say, not just Chantel's team, but also the live audience's team here on the ropes at the moment. And then I lose my first person here. Surprisingly, it's been a very good season with keeping numbers on the board, but Jasmine is now out of the game as well. So that gives the live audience and Chantel's team 2 members left, Laurel and Derek. Kahuna has got 4 members left, Cara Maria, Ace, Veronica, and Steve. We've got Drew with 5 left, Cam, Brad, Avery, Flora, and Ryan. And then Chris, myself, with Nicole, which I feel very like I was like choosing that person, and she's probably giving me some good points this season, but I feel kind of dirty at the moment, I will admit, having her in my team. And then Leroy, Tina, who's been a lot of fun this season, Jay, whose back I've always had. It was never in doubt that he is one of the star players this season, and I was always going to choose him. And then Adam as well in my team. So that is where we're sitting currently on the numbers. But let's look at how the points are shaking up, and we're going to go over to Drew for the points for the season.
Well, I will say that I am in last place yet again. For a couple of weeks, it was Kahuna who was in last place, and Kahuna and I were like battling it out, you know. But Kahuna has a fairly solid team. Every single person that he's had left in the game did something this week and actually got significant amount of points. So that's really, really good. But it sets me back quite a bit. Well, not quite a bit. I'm in last place with 176 total points. I do have the number 1 scorer of the entire draft so far. The number 1 scorer is Cam with 64 total points. So that's helping me out. Where Ryan and Flora are kind of at the bottom, just floating around there. I need them to pick it up. But right now, I'm in 4th place with 176 points. Right now, I'm 6 behind Chantel, who is in 3rd place with 182 points. Laurel is her highest scorer with 52 total points as of right now. And look, Laurel and Derek are good. But let me tell you something right now. If you're looking at it going like, hey, Derek did well, Laurel's going to get points. Let me tell you right now, I had Danny for US season 1, and he was my last pick left in the game going into the final, and I lost embarrassingly because I didn't have enough players enough in the game. You know, you could be happy with your final 1 or 2 players. I had Emmanuel in season 39's draft. He won, and I still got embarrassed. So you gotta know, like, just because you like your final 1 or 2 players left, it's gonna come down to how many you can accumulate down the lane. But right now, I'm 6 behind Team Chantel, who does have Laurel and Derek left. Team Kahuna, as I said, jumped up all the way to 2nd place. You were last place last week, and you jumped up mightily up to 2nd place. 196 total points. 20 points over me, 14 over Team Chantel. You have the second highest score of the whole draft, and of course, it's Cara. So congratulations. Ace is now finally in double digits with this win and so many points. He was 9 points at the end of last week's episode. 5 episodes in, he only had 9 points to show for his name, and he has 21 now. So congratulations there. Steve is your second highest score with 43 points, and he was your last pick. So a really solid pick at that point. And Chris, who finally lost a player this week, you had a clean
spare
slate.
A moment for me, everybody. Spare a
all
moment.
The way. And I'll tell you right now, you almost had all your players by the end of this episode. I
was jumping up and down.
If Veronica didn't say anything.
Yeah,
so
if anybody was going to be upset about this week and Nicole changing her mind last minute, it should have been me. But I was like, I'll let it slide.
You were in you and Chantel were battling it out for first and second place for a lot of these weeks, where Drew, me and Kuna were battling out for not being last place. But for Leroy, being high up wasn't doing well until he scored like 24 points last week. So now he's your second highest scorer. Nicole is your first highest scorer with 51 points. Leroy is your second highest scorer with 49 total points. Tina has 43. Jasmine had 39. So you had a good overall consistent scoring throughout. Your lowest scorer is
one
Adam,
superstar. It's just
26.
strength of numbers.
Yeah, really, really solid. And I'm telling you, you're crushing this competition. Kuna, I said, had 196. You're 41 points ahead of him. At 237.
Wow.
237 points, and you're winning by
let the good times roll, baby. Let the good times roll.
So congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. I am nervous, though. I'm very nervous because when I look at that team, I don't see outside of Jay. Obviously, he's the only one who could potentially win this season. I just think, people will sleep on Jay, but not this guy, not the one who picked him from the start in both of my drafts, right? But outside of Jay, I feel like there's a lot of people that I don't know how they get to the end and win this season. Like Leroy's been disappointing compared to like where I saw him in the beginning of the season. Nicole on the other end, I just think she's good drama, but that's it. I don't see her winning the season. So I'm a little bit nervous. I'm hoping the longer Tina can stay in the game, the better for me. I feel like she'll keep bringing in the confessional points and the drama. But yeah, like things can go, like I'm ahead now, but I'm still nervous. Kuna, how do you feel about the big, I guess, movement in your team and now seeing a lot of people in your team with stars? Like, in fact, all of them have stars at this point.
Yeah, but I don't know if they'll necessarily hold on to them. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough to see Ace and Veronica keeping those stars going into the final. So, Cara Maria, obviously it's Cara Maria. Steve is a surprise package for me, which I'm absolutely stoked about. I think he has a good shot at keeping his stars. He's already gone into elimination twice, so that's great. But I mean, I'm glad that I'm not at the bottom and fighting with Drew. But I mean, I don't know how that's going to look going forward as well. I'm a bit dubious too.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out. I think you've got a solid team. I am worried for the live audience when it comes to only having 2 people left at this stage, but 2 solid picks like Drew said there.
Looking at this lineup, if you want a tinfoil conspiracy theory, it's not. I know for sure, or I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty confident it's very coincidental. But can I just point out? I just realized this. Look at who's left the show so far.
Mm-hmm.
Tony was a quit, and Rachel is the only non-black person eliminated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like that is crazy. Like, as for the diversity in this cast, to have Tyree, Janelle quit, but bullied to quit. Ayana, Cyrus, Brandon, Jasmine, Kefla. Leroy was thrown in against him. Steve is another person of color who was thrown in again as well. I'm like, is this intentional? What is happening? I didn't even realize that it was so.
I didn't notice it until you just pointed it out and just looked at it. And yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I will say the only thing I will say is a lot of the people that were out are people who have not been, like outside of Jasmine. Like Jasmine's someone that has been on seasons recently, which is probably why she did so well and went reasonably deep. We've got a few people here that have been out of the challenge world, like your Keflas, your Brandon's. I think Rachel has that in common, but she's kind of had the fitness things that she's been doing, which has kept her kind of in contact with a lot of people in the challenge realm. But a lot of these players have not. And I mean, Cyrus, you can't really put in there. So Cyrus obviously is someone that has been, but he came in late. So that counted against them. And then if you look at Janelle, she left, right? Ayana blew up her own game. So I get from a point that it optically doesn't really look good. But I think if you look at it, there's a lot of people who are not connected.
There's context for sure.
Yeah, there's some context. I feel
I
like,
mean,
but and again, I'm not saying that there couldn't be more. I'm just trying to say like there is potentially other reasons to play as well.
I'll put the two white guys in a tough position.
Well, I was gonna say if the Challenge All Stars is trying to go back to a like an OG version type of the challenge and a throwback way of the challenge, I mean, this is nothing new. I mean, the first ones targeted in like early seasons were players of color who there was only like one or two players of color on those seasons. So it's like, I don't know. It's wild to see it in this context.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it paints the picture. It definitely paints a bit. Like I didn't until Kuna pointed it out. I didn't actually realize it myself. And like you said, like 100%, like it's interesting. And I think what it really points out to, because I said like, hey, a lot of these players that have come back, they're not as connected and they've been out of the realm for a while. And obviously we talk about this with the main show where you get the internationals come in, they have to play against people from the US, that they're all divided. They haven't had time to combine and come with a unified front. Now they're coming up against people who have been consistently in the show. I think if you look at it that step deeper, why haven't a lot of these players come back? Right? So why have Kefla, like we spoke about it earlier, or Brandon, or Tyree, or Cyrus, or Janelle, why have they been out of the game for as long? Because yes, there is clearly the thing that they weren't connected, but there's also a trend of certain players and maybe some of these players of color that have not been asked back, right? So that has put them in a bad spot coming into. What I'm trying to say is I don't know if that is the reason they got voted out this season, but there is a knock-on effect of them not having been in the challenge realm for long enough that have put them at a disadvantage coming into a season like this. Do I make sense or am I not making sense? I'm not too sure if that's making sense. So I feel like there is something there. I just don't know if it's directly at this season or if it's pointing to something even deeper where we haven't seen a lot of them. And I know the challenge has come a long way and they're trying to add more diversity. And I think they've done a reasonably good job in recent seasons in doing it. I think they're ahead of some other franchises when it comes to it. But have they gotten it right over the years? No, there's been massive blow-ups in the past, controversies, certain things being said that shouldn't have been said. We had Leroy do a whole Instagram live not that long ago about how he never felt appreciated or supported on the show. So I do think there's some truth there, Kuna. So it's like I said, you put both myself and Drew in a spot because we're the two white guys on the channel, and it's hard to talk about this. But like I think it's still valuable, and you're also a person of color on the channel. It's like you should be bringing it up, right? You should be saying like this is something I'm spotting. So good call out.
Yeah, it's just I just thought it was interesting when you see it all in a row. Like it just stands out a little bit more.
Yeah.
I do think context is super important with stuff like that in both ways, and I don't necessarily think it's on the challengers making that conscious decision to go this way, but then you start going deeper into like unconscious biases and things like that. Like there's a whole lot going into it that is probably not for the challenge specifically, and maybe on Chris's other channel where he might talk politics or something. Like I don't know. Like
I try and stay away from politics as much as I can. Don't expect it on the other channel either. but every now and again you can't avoid it, right? Like you want to be true to yourself and you want to be able to speak your mind when certain things comes up. But I totally agree, and it's a good spot. So also looking at the draft, and it's hard to segue from this, but looking at the draft, Drew, for the other one, how are we tracking on the draft that we did earlier in the year? Unfortunately, I don't have the picks up in front of me, but where's the point sitting in the one that Chantel and I and you did a year ago?
All right, so this one's a little bit more interesting now looking at it, because I really didn't look at it. I was looking at the quad scoreboard, but now looking at the trio scoreboard, nothing's too different. Team Chantel is now in third place for our team, for our draft. She had Tony as her first pick. I gave her Cyrus, and he gave her 9 points. in that one episode he was there, Rachel, Tyree, and Ayana. So she has 5 players out. She has 4 players remaining. Laurel, Steve, Adam, and Tina. Really solid bunch. But right now she's in last place with 260 total points. Of course, Laurel is her highest scorer, with Steve and Tina both tied at 43 apiece. So still pretty good. In second place is myself, only 9 points ahead of her at 269 points. I've lost Brandon, Janelle, and now Kefla was my second to last pick, my last men pick. Right now, my highest scorer is Cam, of course, and my second highest scorer is Leroy. Kefla had 39 by the time he was eliminated. I have Derek, I have Flora, I have Veronica. So Cam is really putting this whole team and Leroy on her back. So I appreciate Cam on this season. But I'm at 269. Chantel's at 260. Chris, you're in first place yet again. You've only lost Jasmine, just like the last draft, our quad draft. You've only lost Jasmine, and you have 271 points. You're only 2 points ahead of me right now in first place. Wow. So right now you got double first place, and you're both over 200, but you're only 2 points ahead of me right now. But you have a ton of other players. You just surpassed last week. At the end of it, I was in last place by only 2 points behind Chantel, and you were in first place. So I did some resurgence. No, I was in second place. You were in last place. And then you had a resurgence because you have Ace, you have Nicole, who went on like a scoring streak this past week. You have Cara as the second highest scorer in the entire draft. Brad was your first pick, and he's been a dud, but you have a really solid group here. Only lost Jasmine. You're 271, I'm 269, and Chantel is 260 at the halfway point, meaning anything could happen at this point. So I'm very excited about both these drafts.
Yeah, same. And I mean, it's an opportunity to try and catch up on you with championship wins. If I can get both wins, you open up the can of worms here, Drew, where I might be able to equal with you in championship wins if I could win both of these drafts. So, I'm competitive. I want to catch up.
Yeah, and I'm competitive, but I'm just going like this. I'm just like, please, somebody win something, Leroy. Damn,
that polar bear hoodie's getting very warm, isn't it?
It's been warm, but now looking at all the points, I mean, if Leroy and Cam could have won this past week, major points for me. Major points, because then Cam's throwing herself in against Jasmine, and we're having a party. Like, that's what I'm excited about. But it is what it is.
I want to bring up a few more of the comments here in the live before we start looking at closing things off, but so much fun already on the podcast. Asia here saying, we don't need to make everybody uncomfortable, but it has been the reality for quite some time. I love the challenge, but I can't say I don't think about it from time to time when I watch. I love this community. Where else can we talk the challenge all the time? But yeah, so lucky to clean up at the moment when it comes to the drafts. And I think that, again, when you go back to things like All-Stars and you're bringing people from that different, there's always going to be work. I don't think wherever we go in the world, we're never going to hit utopia and be 100%. Like, as soon as you clean up a lot of the mess, or you clean up a lot of these things that we don't want to see in life. Like, for instance, no one should be, if you're a good human being, you shouldn't be thinking that having a bias or having a racism or anything like that take place in a game or in life is a good thing, right? There's always going to be, I don't think we're ever going to get to a place where we're in a perfect utopia where everything's just working. I think that's a reality, but we can always strive to do better. And when you've got all the eras coming in and you see some of these players that have been disconnected come back, it makes you question, why have they not had the call back? Why have they not been able to continue to stay within the realm where they can now come back in a season like this and have an equal footing, right? I don't think it's to the blame of the players that are playing this season, because they have had other connections and they've come back over seasons. But again, it's tough. And I think we should be able to have these conversations openly. I'm glad that you're a part of the community, Asia, and that you're enjoying the content. We try and keep it light on this channel as much as we can, but every now and again, you're going to spot something. And I want Kahuna to feel comfortable to also call it out when he does see it, so I'm glad that he did in this case. And then we could have a little bit of a chat about it. Let's see what else people are saying here. Christina saying Chantel is begrudgingly praying for Nicole Laurel drama. She's sitting there like, crying about it. I'm kind of the same. I'm not going to lie, Christina. I'm competitive. So I'm like, I hate it.
That gives Chris Nicole points, though.
Yeah.
Did I get makeout points since we didn't see it on camera, but we heard the sounds?
Oh, I gave the sounds. I gave the sounds.
there was definitely a lot of sounds from the sauna coming through as well. Laurel and Drew might be a good combination. Where did that come from?
I have no idea.
Do you think it'd be a good combination with Laurel, Drew?
I would be too nervous. I'd be too nervous. Yeah. I think, well, the only good thing is she would probably pick me up and then sit me down in one of those seats. So I think that I would have been having a seat regardless. We would have won that challenge.
She'd be talking to you like she talked to Brad after the daily, where she's like, you got to do better, Drew. You got to do better. You know, you got to be more locked in these things.
She did handle Brad very well. Like back in the day, Laurel could have went in on Brad for doing that. But I think that was pretty good.
I thought it was funny. The first initial reaction, as soon as it happened, all she did was "motherfucker, Brad." That's all you heard, and then she calmed down. But
Lita says Jasmine gave great confessions. I agree. She was just going a little bit hard on my girl Cara a few times. I was like, hey, chilly on the whole Cara
venom
stuff
too, eh?
Yeah, I was like, where's this coming from?
Angry little Jasmine.
But that is Jasmine. That's her MO. And Chris saying, now Chris is kissing ass. I see the way you move. Hey, listen, I've been kissing ass since day one. Like I had Jay in my OG draft, okay, and he was my second guy pick. So I feel like I made liking Jay cool because I was the first one to actually put my neck on the line and actually do it on a live podcast. Okay. How about them apples? And then we've got who else is saying something here. Dolores saying, are you getting points if your player steals or earns a star, Drew?
If you win an elimination, you get points. That's all. That's it.
Not for a give.
No, not for a give, not for a get. I mean, if you win an elimination or win a daily, then go send yourself in. I mean, you'll get 8 points for winning a daily and sending yourself in and winning, like Nicole did. Yeah. So she got, but Ace didn't get extra points for just being handed a star for the only time I gave somebody points for being handed a star was Tina, because technically TJ said you are the winner of the elimination. So with that technicality, I was like, fine, I'll give points for Tina winning.
Yeah. Kiwi saying, thanks, guys. Great live as always. Thanks, Kiwi, for jumping in. We really appreciate having you here. Chris saying, always a great chat with you three. Dreadful is saying, when are we getting a season 40 draft? I always love watching the draft picks. The problem is if we do a 40 draft before the official photos come out, Drew's going to make me do it twice. So I'm waiting. Okay, I'm waiting. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do it twice like we did last time.
Well,
I don't mind winning multiple drafts, but I feel like, let's do it once and let's do it right.
Well, here's the thing. We can almost guarantee that we're not going to wait over a year for season 40. Maybe. Yeah. So that's the only reason why we had to do this one a second time. Plus, we wanted to add in Kahuna. So, I mean, that's another vibe as well.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, we'll definitely be doing, I think at some point we should at least talk about some of the rumors or the themes. Like there should be some more time, like Survivor's getting pretty close to an end now. My schedule's been pretty busy. So when Survivor drops away, maybe there's opportunity to do like a second podcast 1 week where we cover the All-Star season and then also just discuss 40, the theme, what our thoughts are, and the cast a little bit at a broad level without doing the draft, if that makes sense. And if Drew's got time, we'll get Drew to come in, we'll get Chantel to come in. It'll be a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So as you say, not the sounds. Bile got to go support Chantel now. Yeah, go for the live. Excuse you made liking J cool. Listen, I didn't hear any other J supporters in the live when I called them out back in the day and I said, this is my guy. Actually, no, Chris did back me on that one. I have to give it to her. I remember her saying, yeah, she was the only other one that saw it. Yeah. But yeah, that is it here for this week. I hope everybody enjoyed. If you do have time, go jump on Chantel's live. Apparently she's going live now as well to talk about this season on Reality Realness with 3 S's. If you like this content, like, subscribe, put the notification bell on. We do a lot of content here, Survivor related. We're doing the challenge at the moment. I'm actually starting to watch Deal or No Deal Island. I'm way behind everybody else. So maybe like Kahuna, if you want to go through that, the first episode was actually really good. We'll do like a season retrospective. If Drew has watched it and he likes it, he can come on and we can talk about it as a season. I probably won't do every episode, but yeah. So there's lots of content dropping on here, and we should have some more free time to do some fun projects in the coming months. And if you don't know who this guy is, Angel Cake, who joined us today, Drew, go check him out. Angel Cake Entertainment channel on YouTube, your premier channel, I feel like, when it comes to all things challenge related. Drew, is there anything specific you wanted to plug? Anything that's happening on the channel currently?
Well, today I put up a shortened interview with Kefla. I was able to chat with him earlier this week. So the full thing is over on patreon.com/angelcakevids for the $3 and $5 tiers, which once you sign up, you get that interview plus a ton of other extra exclusive content. He was awesome. I go check out the one that's up on the channel now, because it's really good. He goes into his road rules season. We talk about his the real world versus road rules season 2, and then just what it felt like being back on this season. And he goes into a lot of fun stories, behind the scenes stuff, and just gives a lot of great advice. Like, he is the great uncle of the challenge. And I mean, I was sitting there smiling throughout the entire thing. I've had people write in saying that they were smiling throughout the entire thing and they want to see Kefla back. So yeah, I'll just plug Kefla. Go hit him up on Twitter, and he loves all the support. It means the world to him, and he'll always reply back. That's what he said in the interview. He's like, I'll always reply back. He said he grew up when you get spoken to, you speak back. So I mean, he's
got to watch out for what he's wishing for.
Yeah,
like, I mean, he's bringing a lot of heat his way.
He loves it. I mean, he's always around, and he's awesome. He's incredible. It was really fun to talk to him. He's great.
That's amazing. Go check it out on the Angel Cake Entertainment channel on YouTube, everybody. But for now, that is it here for this week. Thank you so much, everybody in the live, for being here and taking part in the conversation. We'll catch you guys next week. Bye.